Hawaii legislature is deciding right now if it's going to kill Airbnb and all short-term rentals in the entire state of Hawaii. And if that passes, guess what's next all across the country? We could be looking at the beginning of the end of the short-term rental market, and I'm gonna tell you right now, that's gonna piss off a lot of investors.
You know how much I sacrificed?
And it's gonna wreck the economy. Man, I just gotta say it, right? I mean, I'm a professional real estate investor. I've done over $2 billion of single family homes, and none of them are short-term rentals, which means that I've got a lot of critics out there that are like, Krohn, what are you doing, bro? Like, why aren't you playing in the short-term rental game? Don't you know that I've got a house over here on the ocean and I make like $3,800 every single month? And I'm like, man, that is some killer cash flow. And it's true. There's a ton of deals in certain locations where on short-term rentals, they are killing it. But there's also a ton of disasters for every success. There's a lot of deals that don't turn out that way. But regardless of whether it's good or bad, it works, it doesn't work, what if it's literally facing its dinosaur extinction moment? Well, first of all, short-term rentals have been around for a long time, like since the 1950s. Like the idea of renting out a vacation home, that was customary, that was normal. When you traveled somewhere, there was a way for you to rent these homes. In 1995, the first online platform to enable vacation or short-term rentals bookings was VRBO. Like, did you know that VRBO, that's been competing with Airbnb, started all the way in 1995? It wasn't until 2008 that Airbnb came out. They showed a faster, stronger adoption strategy, and within a few short years, they were worth over $32 billion, eclipsing Marriott that had been in business for 3 decades. So since the Great Recession of 2008, short-term rentals is a market that has taken off, and it's been taking investors by storm because they're seeing this as a new opportunity for, hey, instead of just renting out a house, what if I can rent this house and make 3 times as much or 10 times as much cash flow, as is sometimes the case. And when short-term rentals became like the thing, states were not prepared for it. Basically, it's taken them like a decade to gear up and figure out, wait, do we like short-term rentals? Like, is this something that we want to advocate for? Or is this actually hurting our state, and is this something we should ban? So why did these short-term rental platforms become so popular? First of all was ease of use. Like, these platforms are easy for bookings. There's economic incentives. Property owners literally can earn significant income from short-term rentals, so they're incentivized to put up their house for Airbnb or for VRBO. Then you have flexibility. Travelers enjoy the flexibility of staying in homes and apartments with kitchens, multiple bedrooms, and other amenities that they just don't get with hotels. And then you have a cultural shift. The sharing economy has gained traction, and with people becoming more comfortable with the idea of staying in someone else's home, it just became a thing. But this has also caused a lot of problems, which is leading all the way up to Hawaii considering banning all short-term rentals for life forever, period. For example, you have housing shortage. Every home that is listed with VRBO or Airbnb is no longer a house that is available for someone to buy. So it is a part of the housing shortage dilemma that we haven't been able to recuperate from for the last 13 years, basically when it came on the scene. You also have neighborhood disruption. Common neighbor complaints relate to short-term rentals, including excessive noise, parking congestion, trash pileup. Then you have gentrification, which means a lot of the lower class or lower income neighborhoods are turning Airbnb, it's more accessible to the wealthy, and then a lot of the lower income people are feeling pushed out of these now newer and nicer neighborhoods that they're now missing an opportunity on. Then you have the community impact, right? Short-term rentals basically transform homes and apartments into largely unregulated mini hotels that can disrupt the sense of community. You have property damage, right? There's instances of property damage that's just caused by short-term renters. And then you have these regulatory issues, and this is the big one. Many cities and regions have struggled with how to regulate short-term rentals, leading to now new legal and policy debates. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening in Hawaii, because they literally might be creating the landmark case that kills short-term rentals everywhere else potentially.
Kill short-term rentals.
Hawaii is known for its stunning beaches, its vibrant culture. It's also a state with one of the worst affordability housing shortages in the country. Like, real estate is very, very expensive there. And with housing costs more than 2.5 times higher than the national average, the state believes that short-term rentals play a big part in the problem, and it's now poised to severely limit Airbnb rentals for good. So here we go. There are two bills that are trying to be passed. You have the State House Bill 1838 and the Senate Bill 2919. These bills could phase out short-term rentals that are not owner-occupied, period. Residents have long complained about the impact of tourism and luxury home development on housing accessibility, and the lack of affordable housing and rentals for residents has become such a great concern that right now they want to wipe out short-term housing, period.
Why on earth would you leave Hawaii?
Price out of paradise. That's what it is.
This is kind of crazy, by the way, because I've got a brother of mine that's like, Kris, I'm buying land in Hawaii and we're gonna set up these 2 Airbnbs and I want you to go in on it with me. And there's just something that hasn't felt right, because Airbnb, while it's come rapidly on the scene, it's also created a lot of noise and a lot of disruption. And I've had a chance to educate myself with some of the top Airbnb investors. And the number one thing that they're educating on is, how do you pick an area that likely won't turn over Airbnb and in the future say it's not possible? You see, there's some new things that have happened in Hawaii that are starting to affect this decision. The Maui wildfires in August of 2023 exacerbated the crisis, killing 101 people, burning thousands of structures, including around 4,000 affordable housing units, displacing thousands of people. Short-term rentals in Hawaii have proven to be more profitable than renting to local families, but this profit often comes at the cost of communities where they're located. The state's housing crisis is one of the reasons supporters say that the native Hawaiian population on Hawaii has actually declined. Last year marked the first time census records showed that more native Hawaiians live on the continent instead of their ancestral homelands. Preserving long-term housing inventory for residents can prevent the outmigration of Hawaiians and other members of these communities. Now, I gotta be honest, when I frame it up that way, doesn't it tug a little bit on our heartstrings and start thinking, oh my gosh, these bills actually might get passed? Because if the ban is passed, this bill would allow counties across the islands to phase out short-term rentals, potentially redefining where travelers can stay when visiting the islands. The proposals have caused division, pitting short-term investment property owners and online platforms like Airbnb and VRBO against housing advocates and hotels. Supporters hope that if the bill is approved, it will eventually provide Maui residents with adequate long-term housing, as well as serve other areas across the islands that are highly impacted by short-term rentals. Now, it is important to note that there have been several crackdowns on short-term rentals in the past, so this is something that's been mounting and building. You've got cities from New York and California that have been cracking down on short-term rentals with bans requiring licensing or limiting how many people can actually rent a place. Santa Rosa, California recently required permits for those offering to stay for at least 30 days or less and capped the number of permits. Local Law 18 in New York now requires that hosts register with the city. They have to be present in the residence while they're hosting, and the hosts have to have at least 2 travelers. Like, all of these rules are basically designed to say, we're not telling you that you can't have short-term rentals, we're just making it impossible for you to have short-term rentals. Special regulations in Palm Springs were passed in 2022, mandating that no more than 20% of the properties in the neighborhood can actually be short-term. And I can tell you that that's something that has been passing in Florida and all sorts of other areas. Local Law 18 in New York now requires that the host registers with the city, that the host is literally on site at the residence while hosting, and that they can't actually host more than 2 travelers. Like, just think for a moment how asinine that is. You're almost like killing the whole nature of it without saying that you're actually ending it. There's a lot to unfold this year, next year, the year after, to really figure out what's going to happen. What is the true trajectory of the short-term rental game? Is it a game where you and I as an investor get in and then regret it a couple years later thinking, oh my gosh, like, I was making money while the going was good, but the going ain't good anymore? Which is why, for me, you might be wondering, Kris, why don't you do more with short-term rentals? And it's not just all of the political and regulatory issues here. It's that at the end of the day, I need something more stable on my ROI that is predictable, that will grow with time. For example, when I wrote this book, The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth, it's all based on the premise that if you buy single-family homes in the best markets below the median, yada, 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 follow this formula, that you can earn at least 25% a year on your money and maybe 35%. Which basically means that if you can find a way to house hack yourself into one home and then later take the equity in that home and then buy a second home and use those 2 homes to buy 4 more homes, that in time, with those kind of ROIs, you could definitely retire a multimillionaire several times over. And so still to this day, I'm playing the single family game because it's easier, it's more reliable, it's consistent, and bottom line, it's not just passive, it works. It makes the millions of dollars. And what I want to do right now is I want to give you the knowledge of this book for free. If you click the link below, you'll see where you can grab a free copy of The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth. And I'm going to show you the easiest passive approach to acquiring real estate so you can stay focused on family and career and travel and the things that you love to do, but still have real estate produce millions of dollars and do it in a way where someday the local government doesn't knock on your door saying you can't do that anymore. The reality is this is one of the most basic of human rights when it comes to owning real estate. Our Constitution was founded on it. Click the link below and get the knowledge in this book and then put it to work to make yourself a multimillionaire. Well, my friend, the future of real estate is uncertain and it is changing, and not just in the Airbnb world, even in long-term rentals, there's a lot shifting. Like a decade from now, we're gonna be more of a renter nation than ever before. And so your opportunity to even just become a real estate investor, use some of these hacks and actually get in the game, they're going to be gone soon. And you don't want to miss out on, I believe, one of the easiest opportunities for becoming a multimillionaire. It's passively just owning the right kind of real estate. So if you want to learn what lies in our future of real estate, click right here, watch this video, and let me prepare you for what is coming.